Believe that taking the effort in Syria is going to cost too much money and that would be disadvantageous. Please go to the DA to start. My first argument is that there's no brink to this disadvantage. Congress and the President just came to an agreement a few days ago on raising the budget deficit, raising the ceiling, and increasing spending in the government, which means there's now room to spend. My second argument is that spending on Syria, therefore, will not trade off with spending on domestic programs. That means there's no link to the disadvantage. We won't cause that trade-off because sequestration is no longer part of the game because we've extended the debt ceiling, we've already raised it, and the brink has already passed us by. My third argument is that even if this is true, the impact of the affirmative outweighs the impact of the negative. Our contention number one indicates that the United States will get dragged into a war because of destabilizing effects in the Middle East. That will certainly cause more death and more despair than any of the impact that she's reading about on domestic programs on the disadvantage. So even if you believe that we're near the brink, and even if you believe that we will cause this disadvantage, there's no impact to this disadvantage. It doesn't outweigh the advantages that we are claiming on the affirmative case. In contention number one, we talk about the significance of the problem. And we say that if Assad stays in power, he will continue to destabilize the Middle East. Their argument is twofold. They say, first off, is there's just speculation about what's going on in terms of whether our attack will work or not. My first argument, this is a solvency argument misplaced on significance. It doesn't matter if we can fix it or not. The significance question is there a problem? And our argument is that Assad's a bad guy and he's destabilizing. Please extend subpoints A and B and C that indicate that he is a bad guy and will cause terrorism in the area. Gloria has a good answer to that, which is, well, then why isn't the United Nations dealing with it? And our argument is that the United Nations is our inherent barrier. They're incapable of doing this because of Russia's veto power. And that's why the United States has to act. She's right. It should be the UN's responsibility, but they're not doing their job, which is why the United States has to step in, because we have a self-interest. What is that self-interest? That's subpoint D. And that is that the tension's going to spread and destabilize the region. And that's why we can't ignore the fact that the United Nations is not doing anything. It's why we can't sit around and let the United Nations just take its time. We need to strike so that we can protect our own self-interest. The question is, will that work? Well, that's in contention number two, where we argue that regime change is not only possible, but that it will make all of the other goals that we have and want in the status quo possible. Please extend subpoint B. That evidence is excellent. It says that if we don't change Assad, we can't achieve any of our other goals. It's the first step that we need to take. Extend our evidence that says that when we attack him, we can overturn the Assad regime, and that will solve our problem. Will it cost us some money? Yes, of course it will cost us some money. All actions require money. But our argument in this debate is that the advantages, the solvency that we get in contention 2, far outweigh the impact of the disadvantage. So please vote affirmative.